All right, everybody, welcome to today's personal development lesson. I am your host, as always, Joel Dunn. Today, we are going to be going over a very important conversation. See, we need to talk about the power of the next conversation because there's always one conversation that you can have that will possibly change somebody's trajectory. So you as a leader always need to know that you are just one conversation away from changing that for somebody on your team. Think about your life for a second. Think about the moments that actually changed you, the decisions that shifted your decisions, the breakthrough that woke you up. And I bet almost every single one of those came from a conversation. Probably not a book, not a podcast or a training like this, not a stage, a conversation that you had with somebody. Because somebody pulled you aside, somebody asked you the right question, somebody believed in you out loud. They spoke it over you. Somebody told you the truth you probably had been avoiding. That's the power that we're talking about today. And here's the truth that most leaders miss. You're not always one big move away from breakthrough. You're not always one new strategy away from momentum. You're often one person, one conversation away for yourself, for your team, for somebody in your circle who's quietly waiting for somebody to notice them. So today we're going to break it down into 5 ways you can lead through that next conversation that you have in front of you. So number 1, the small conversation is usually the biggest one. See, the conversations that change lives rarely look important in the moment. You know, leaders are trained to look for the big moment. I mean, are you looking for that big moment, that huge team call, the keynote, that super strategy session that you hear on a podcast or a Zoom? But the conversation that actually shifts people are usually that 4-minute check-in, that text you almost didn't send, the how are you doing before a meeting starts, or that hallway moment that turned into a 20-minute coaching conversation. See, you think those are filler, but to your team, they remember those as defining moments. Because most people aren't waiting for a speech, they're waiting for someone to see them for the 2 minutes and actually mean it. So if you're only showing up big when the room is big, you're missing 95% of your influence, guys. Big leadership doesn't happen just in big moments. Only 5% of it does. It happens in the small ones that are done with intention. So this week, look for a way to treat one small conversation like it might be the biggest one in somebody's week, because more than likely for them, it is. Number 2, you want to walk with intention, not just an agenda. Because guys, an agenda is about what you want to cover. Intention is about what they need to walk into and walk away with. So a lot of times when we do trainings and when we put requests out, we're trying to find out what is important to you. What do you need to walk away with? Because we can come on, we can do trainings, we can do lessons, we can do all the things that we think we should be doing. But if it's not what you need, how are we having the impact that you need? So most leaders walk into conversations distracted, rushed, and already thinking about the next big thing on their list to do. So the conversation becomes a transaction. Information gets exchanged and nothing actually shifts. So you as a leader who changes people, you need to walk in differently. You have to ask yourselves before the conversations, what does this person need from me right now? What's the one thing I want them to feel by the end of this? Am I here to fix, or to listen? Am I here to challenge or am I here to encourage? That 30 seconds of preparation changes everything because now you're not just having a conversation, you're leading one. And there's a difference between being in a conversation and being present in one. And your team, well, they can tell which one you're doing within 10 seconds of it starting. Because anyone can have a conversation. Leaders bring intention to them. So think about this. Before your next one-on-one, take 60 seconds and ask yourself, what does this person need to walk away with? And then lead the conversation with them towards that. Number 3, you need to ask questions that open people up, not shut them down. Because the quality of a conversation is determined by the quality of the questions that you ask. Most leaders ask surface level, level 1 questions, and they get the surface level answers. Things like, how's it going? Well, the answer is good. Everything okay? Yeah, it's all good. How was your week? Busy. These are not questions designed to help you connect. So these are the things that you need to look in. It's not a conversation, that's a checkbox. Leaders who change lives ask questions that go 1 layer, 2 layer, 3 layers deeper. There's a great book, and it's one of those ones that changes everything about conversations and going over the different types of body language things, and it's by Vanessa Van Anderwoods, and make sure you look that up and get it. What things that you look at when you're asking these deeper questions, they sound like things that cause people to think about their answers, not just respond. Things like, what's been on your mind this week? Or what's one thing you're proud of right now? Where are you feeling stuck? What do you need that you haven't been asking for? If nothing changed in the next 90 days, how would you feel? Guys, those questions don't just gather information. They give people permission to be honest. And the second someone gets honest with you, the whole relationship and conversation shifts. And here's the secret that most leaders miss. People don't open up because you're nice. They open up because you ask questions that prove you actually want to know them and their answers. So surface questions get surface answers. Real questions get real people giving real responses. So something that you can do this week, pick one deeper question from above and use it 3 times this week with people and see what happens. See how those conversations go. And then make a mental note of the difference. Next, number 4, be willing to have the conversation nobody else will. This is your superpower as a leader, because the most loving conversation is sometimes the hardest one. Every leader has somebody in their world right now who needs a conversation like that. And you probably know who they are. It's probably coming to your mind right now, and you've been avoiding it. The team member coasting on potential. You see it in them, but they're not actually doing what they have the ability to do. Or the friend making a decision you can see is going to hurt them. Why wouldn't you speak up to them? The performer whose attitude is starting to poison the culture of your team. Or the person you love who needs to hear the truth, not just a hug. See, average leaders avoid those conversations because they're uncomfortable. Great leaders run towards them because they know silence is not kindness. It's actually hurting them. So when you avoid the hard conversations, you're not protecting a relationship, you're betraying it. You're choosing your comfort over their growth. The right words said with love at the right time can rescue anyone from a bad decision, bad decade, bad year. But you have to be willing to be the one who says those things to them. Because the hardest conversation in your week is usually the most important one, and usually the one that's on the last to-do list that gets pushed to the next week. So the thing that you should probably do is identify one conversation you've been avoiding, schedule it today, lead with love, but lead them. And finally, number 5, speak belief into people out loud. You know, I've talked about this quite a few times. People can't always see themselves clearly, but your voice can become a voice they replay when they need to keep going. Because there's somebody in your life, on your team right now, who's quietly running on fumes. They look fine on the outside. That was Stephanie and I. We looked great on the outside because we were business owners. Little did people know that we were, struggling because of the economic collapse. They didn't see that we were standing in food lines because we didn't show that stuff. So they're showing up, doing the work, smiling on the calls, but internally they're questioning if they're enough, wondering if it's worth it, carrying doubt that nobody knows about. One sentence from you could change everything for them, for their day, for their week, for their month, and could compound through their entire year. Things like, I see something in you most people don't. I'm not worried about you. I've watched you handle this, and I've seen you handle things even harder. You are way better than you realize. And I need you to hear that from me today. The version of you I'm watching emerge is going to do something incredible. You are going to have great impact on thousands of people. Guys, that's not flattery. That is leadership. Because here's what's true. Long after you say it, they'll replay it over and over again in the car before the next call. When they're about to give up, your words become the soundtrack they lead from. Because you don't know who's hanging on by a thread. You don't know whose tank is on empty. And statistics show that's probably 90 to 95% of people in your team. But you have the power to refill someone today with one intentional statement over their life. Don't waste it. Because people rise to the version of themselves that you call out in them. So today, send 3 positive messages to 3 different people, speaking belief into them, not generic, be specific, and watch what happens the rest of the week from them. So to recap again, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to have small conversations that usually turn into big ones, which create bigger results. You're going to walk with intention, not just an agenda. 3, you're going to ask questions that open people up, not shutting them down. 4, you're going to be willing to have the conversation nobody else around them is willing to have. And number 5, speak belief and life to people out loud, because that's going to be the fuel that gets them through. So you don't need a stage to change someone's life. You don't need a title to make someone feel seen. You don't need a perfect plan to lead somebody forward. All you need is the next conversation. The one that's already on your schedule, the one that you've probably been avoiding, the one you keep meaning to have, the one that's about to happen maybe in 20 minutes after you get off this training. Whether you're ready or not, that conversation is your leadership moment. Don't waste it. So this week, lead 3 conversations on purpose. Maybe one that's overdue, one that's encouraging, and one that's a deeper question than you'd normally ask, and watch the shift in that person on your team. Because you're always one conversation away from changing somebody's trajectory, maybe even your own. So go out this week and have it. Guys, make sure that you tag yourself with somebody that you want to have hear this message, share it, and go out and have these great conversations this week. Guys, go out and make it an amazing day, and I hope your week is as awesome as you are.